LuAnn Nigara, host of the Well-Designed Business Podcast. I had that right? A Well-Designed Business Podcast.
Exactly.
How are you rocking the podcast?
Hi, Jess. How are you?
I'm good.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me on your little video show here. I'm really excited and honored to be here. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so I'll tell you what I really feel that has been a great thing about me rocking the podcast. What I'm happy about is it's giving me the opportunity to be the crazy questioner person that I am. Like, I have literally my entire life driven everybody I've known up a wall because I can't just say, hi, how are you? I have to say, hi, how are you? And ask you 40 questions. And my kids, as they were growing up and they would bring new friends in the house, after like the fourth question, they'd be like, Mom, we're just getting together to do homework. We're not like doing a dissertation on their life, you know? I'm like so excited because I think it's one of the things that I admire when I listen to other podcasts, when they really keep asking the question until you feel like the question's answered. And so I'm rocking the podcast because I get to be the questioner that I am.
That's awesome. Yeah, you are a great conversationalist. And I have to tell you, I forgot to tell you this when we were chatting before, but I think people enjoy this. So I was talking with Kelly, who's your new guest booker here at Interview Connections, and she was listening to the call that we did when you first started. So for those of you watching, I have conversations with my clients when they first come on board. I record it so my team can hear it and get all the intake. And Kelly was like, I'm afraid to talk to LuAnn because I think we'll be on the phone for 2 weeks.
Exactly. It's so true. It's like, oh my goodness, like, because my brain just goes flying in 50 different directions. And what about this? And how about that? And I forgot to tell you this, and I have to ask you that.
It's such a great trait for a podcast host because, you know, the worst thing about the feedback that we get from other podcasters that is not good is, you know, they're so dry. They didn't ask me good questions. I'm like, LuAnn, it's not boring at all. And you have a local business, which is really different from a lot of podcasters. What is your local business?
We are a custom window treatment and awning retailer. So we provide to the retail and to the trade custom draperies, window treatments, awnings, commercial awnings for businesses, all of that stuff. So that is a brick and mortar business, and we've had that for over 30 years.
And you started this podcast and had secured a sponsor before you even launched. Like, that's the dream for a lot of podcasters. So how did you do that?
Well, that was really, really, really exciting, obviously. I mean, that is like just amazing. And so what happened was, I mean, I've had this relationship with Cravat Inc., who is my sponsor, you know, for over 30 years. They've been one of my fabric rep companies. And the fact of the matter is that I have a lot of relationships with vendors like that after that many years in business. But I truly, truly do admire Cravat Inc. and what they did. A year and a half ago, they introduced a new platform called Curated Cravat. And it's basically an online resource for interior designers for highly curated product, from rugs to accessories to furniture to mirrors and lighting, but it's to the trade only. And any homeowner, any consumer can see it, can love it, can shop it. But when they want to purchase, they have to come to a Cravat resource. And in this world of online retail now, so many of the vendors out there are leaving their trade resources behind and blocking them and cutting them out of the loop. And when I noticed that Cravat Inc. was doing this, I just believed in it so much that I knew I could talk so honestly about it. And so I was like, I'm launching this podcast. It's for interior designers. Do you want to sponsor it? I would love to tell everybody about Curated Cravat. And the Cravat family is a very forward-thinking family and very committed to interior designers and their business. So it was a win-win.
And not that you have to share it, but how did you decide what to charge them? A lot of people are like, how do I come up with a price?
Well, I'll tell you exactly how I did it. I literally said to my podcast consultant, Christy Hausler, you know, what's a typical thing? And she explained to me the cost per thousands revenue thing. And I said, well, I have no listeners. So my cost per listener is like 0 cents. So that's not going to work. Exactly. And so then I went to my social media guy and I said, well, what do you think? And then I spoke to my husband, who is my absolute business mentor. And every single one of them was, you know, even my husband said, I said, well, well, what would you think it would be worth? And he'd be like, I would think it'd be worth nothing. And I'd be like, whoa. And he's like, LuAnn, you don't have a show, show me a show and then I'll tell you what it's worth. And so obviously everybody just really thought it was a fabulous idea. Nobody was discouraging me, but everybody was like, it's not worth anything. And so then at that point, I just had it in my head what it was worth per show. And I asked for it and they did it.
That's awesome.
And I don't really want to share it because it's their business.
No, you definitely don't have to share it.
It's a significant amount, and it was really a huge confidence that they believed in the platform and that they were do it.
I think and I don't think the CPM, the cost per 1,000 downloads, that doesn't work for the majority of shows because most podcasters don't have 20, 30, 40, 50,000 downloads an episode, which is, you have to have those numbers for that model to actually work. And I think the way to look at it is like, how would this sponsor get a return on their investment, based on what they're paying? The way that Corey Coates and I have we had a sponsor for season 2 of the Podcast Producers, and the way we came up with the number, we were like, what are our expenses and what will cover that, so we just wanted
and a little more for, because it's a business, it's not a hobby.
Probably like 10x that amount, next season. But again, like sometimes you just don't even know where to start. So you think, okay, I would do this for free anyway. So what would at least make it not a loss?
I literally did the same thing. I thought, what is it going to cost me per episode? And then I put in for me to be paid to do it. Yes. It wasn't just cost because it's not a hobby. It's a business. And that's my whole platform of my podcast is run your business well.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
You don't do it for free. What are you doing? For free is a hobby. If I want a hobby, I'll go to yoga.
Yeah, exactly.
I never get to it. So nobody pays me to go. If somebody paid me to go, I'd get to yoga.
Yeah. And I think, I've heard, I think John Lee Dumas will give this advice around like, when can I get a sponsor? Because the reason I wanted to highlight that you got a sponsor before you even launch is that a lot of people are like waiting for the right time. And it's like, when is the right time to plant a tree? 20 years ago, like the right time to get a sponsor or to, try to get a sponsor is when, and I think I would probably credit John Lee Dumas because I think he said it, is when is the right time to bring a product or service to your audience that you believe would be of value to them. And if you have a clearly targeted audience, people in a specific niche, like interior design, which is very specific. My client Jen, who I interviewed for this as well, she has a podcast for mortgage loan officers. Like, it cannot get more specific than this. And so when you go to companies that serve these specific audiences, it's just clear that they're going to be advertising to the right people. And so that's very valuable. All you have to do is make that clear to the sponsor. So well done, LuAnn.
Thank you.
Yeah. Where can people listen to your fantastic podcast?
Well, I mean, it's the whole iTunes, right? If you go into iTunes and you Google interior design, will come up, or just put in a well-designed business. And I can't even believe I have to admit this to you, but we'd have to ask Christy if I'm on Stitcher and Google Play and all that stuff.
You are. If you're with Team Podcasts, I'm sure
I'm so not the tech person in my group.
It's very smart. You're outsourcing that. But what's the URL to your website?
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, that I do know. It's www.windowworks-nj.com.
And then your podcast is there?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
awesome.
Podcast page there.
So, friends, go check out LuAnn's podcast. She's super fun, and we book her guests. So we find and book people for her to interview on her show. If you want help with us booking your guests, you can go to interviewconnections.com. At the top of the page, you'll see podcast hosts. You'll click there, and that'll show you our services, finding and booking guests. Thank you all for watching, and have an awesome day.
Thanks, Jess.